On today's episode of Chicago Bears Now, I am going to place every Bears head coaching candidate into a tier. I've come up with 6 tiers. We will go through them and we will end up with every candidate that has either interviewed or has been requested to interview. Speaking of which, depending on when you're watching this, we're publishing on Saturday morning. Only Kliff Kingsbury and Marcus Freeman won't have interviewed after this weekend. Brian Flores is interviewing sometime today here on Saturday, as is Adam Stenavich, the Packers offensive coordinator. I believe that one is today as well. Could be tomorrow, but I believe it's today, which means every interview request will have had its first interview, except for Kingsbury, who may or may not interview, and same with Marcus Freeman. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, Notre Dame in the national championship game on Monday night. Kingsbury has said if he does interviews, they won't be until after the Commanders are out of the playoffs. Okay, let's go to tier number 1. These are my chosen finalists. If you had to narrow it down to 3, these would be my top 3 at this point in time. Ben Johnson is the front runner, the Lions offensive coordinator. Detroit plays Washington tonight. Mike McCarthy, who seemingly might already be a finalist, as his first interview was in person. Sounds like that went pretty well. And then Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator. Now, remember with Ben Johnson, if they win tonight, you can't talk to him or Aaron Glenn for that matter until at least January 27th, which would be a week from Monday. So we could be stuck in a bit of a holding pattern for teams who are trying to get Ben Johnson. Mike McCarthy can be hired at any time. And Todd Monken, depending on how long the Ravens are in the playoffs, if they were to win this weekend, can't talk to him until at least the 27th either. If they were to lose to Buffalo, you would be able to talk to him immediately starting this Monday, so for a second interview. So we'll see where it goes with Johnson and Monken, who are still in the playoffs. McCarthy available to be hired at any point. He has an interview lined up with the New Orleans Saints early this week as well. Speaking of Ben Johnson, be sure to subscribe to the channel and join us tonight for a Lions Commanders watch party, a little NFC divisional round action. Kickoff at 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll go live here on the channel 30 minutes before, probably about 7:30 Eastern. Myself, OG producer Jack, going to be producing this one, so be sure to come ready to go. Should be a lot of fun. We got you guys covered. We'll be live on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel as well with full play-by-play and analysis. And of course, we'll be on Ben Johnson watch. So that should be fun as well. Okay, tier 2, wrong place, wrong time. Brian Flores deserves a second opportunity to be a head coach. He's interviewing today. Aaron Glenn absolutely is overdue his opportunity to be a head coach. I just don't think either of these guys are the right coach for this team right now, mostly because I think the Bears need to go offense. They need someone who can grow and work with Caleb Williams. He said it best, look, whoever the coach is, I'm ready to go, but selfishly, I'd like an offensive guy to grow with for the next 15, 17 years. I don't blame him, and I think he understands, studying this league and recently especially, the best chance for sustained growth and longevity of success, offensive head coach who calls the plays. Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, Sean McVay in LA, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. Doesn't mean it has to be that way. John Harbaugh, not an offensive guy. Sean McDermott, not an offensive guy. But I think the offensive guys give you the best chance to have the highest level of success for a long time. So I think that's the way they need to go. Glenn and Flores are good coaches. If they were to be hired, they wouldn't be bad hires. I just think they're better fits elsewhere. I think Aaron Glenn with the Jets or Saints makes more sense. I think Brian Flores with a team like the Jets makes a lot of sense. Hell, I think he makes sense in Dallas with an established veteran quarterback. I don't think Jerry Jones will go that route, but I just don't think for this team right now, defensive guys who are really good candidates are the way I am wanting to go. Okay, tier number 3. Risky but exciting. Kliff Kingsbury, Joe Brady, and Marcus Freeman, I think are all worthy of being head coaches at some point. Obviously, Marcus Freeman is a head coach in Notre Dame. Obviously, Kliff Kingsbury was a head coach both for the Arizona Cardinals and not the Washington Commanders. He's the OC for the Washington Commanders, Texas Tech. at the college level. Joe Brady is an exciting option as well, but he is 35, so that's the risk there. The risk with Kingsbury, maybe he's just a coordinator. Risk with Freeman is he's literally never coached at the NFL level. He's only coached at the collegiate level, but what he's done with Notre Dame has been exceptional. There's no question about it. It's just, are they worth the risk? I could see them being tremendous. I could see them working out really, really well. But are the Bears in a position where they can afford to take that type of risk? I just think there's a few other candidates that I mentioned in that top tier, Ben Johnson, Mike McCarthy, and Todd Monken, one of which you should at least be able to get, that it just brings you less risk. So that is the route I would go. We'll have to wait and see if that is the route the Bears choose to go. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. We got more candidates to talk about, but first, listen, you're looking to go to a playoff game, Bulls game, Blackhawks, comedy show, concert, anything that requires you to purchase your tickets online, be sure to do so with our friends over at Game Time. The best ticketing app that I have ever used is Game Time. Been using them for well over a year now, and I've never had a better experience for a variety of reasons. Their feature Game Time Picks, which got launched a few months ago, just makes it a lot easier to filter through tickets. That's going to eliminate the fluff of thousands of tickets and narrow down your search, give you different price points, and based on your budget, you should be able to find the seats you're looking for in a matter of minutes and not hours, which is very, very nice. All-in pricing is a feature you can toggle on. You can get views from the seats if you're looking based on venue. You can search based on venue. You can search based on team. Lots of different ways you can find the events that you are looking for. Here's what I need you to do. Download the Game Time app today. We got a link for you guys in the comments and in the description. Create an account. Use our promo code CHATSPORTS. All one word, CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, to get $20 off your first purchase only. Terms do apply there. Code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Be sure to check out and get your tickets with our friends over at Game Time right now. What time is it? It is Game Time. Okay, tier 4. Talented, but not quite ready yet. And you could maybe throw Joe Brady into this bucket. He was right on the fringe of 3 or 4 for me. There's a little bit of overlap there where there's some excitement, but a little risk. Thomas Brown, Anthony Weaver, Mike Kafka. Thomas Brown, I think we saw some things, even though it was an unfair task to elevate him from pass game coordinator to OC and head coach in a matter of about a month. But there were some in-game things that it was like, he probably learned some things doing this on the fly. Probably not quite ready to be a head coach, but he does have traits, leadership abilities, and I think if he had his own playbook, that you would say, in the future, I could see this guy being a head coach. Sean McVay made him his assistant head coach at 36 years old for a reason. They won a Super Bowl together. Lot to like there. Maybe just not quite yet. Anthony Weaver with the Dolphins, turning that Miami defense from a bottom 10 unit into a top 10 unit overnight with basically the same personnel. He got groomed in that Ravens culture and organization there for a few years. He's definitely a coach on the rise. If he delivers another strong season in Miami, could definitely see him being a strong candidate in next year's cycle. And Mike Kafka, I think he's just got to rebuild his stock a little bit. When he was in Kansas City, his stock was sky high. He's had head coaching interviews before, had a couple more this year. He was there when the Chiefs developed Patrick Mahomes. He was working side by side with him. So I think there are things to like there. It's just, when you've been around losing for a few years now, it's kind of like Ian Cunningham from an executive standpoint. I think he's a strong exec, but I think part of the reason maybe he didn't get that Titans job is like, well, you've been a part of losing in Chicago. Like, I think that, that kind of works against you, even if everything wasn't your fault. Sure, the Giants didn't have a quarterback to work with, but when you're a really bad team, it's kind of hard to sell teams to make you the head coach, to give you a promotion, even if everything isn't in your control with the current situation you're in. Talented, not quite ready yet. That's kind of how I view this grouping. Okay, could do worse, but Pete Carroll, look, if he was 65, I'd be all over this. I don't know. He's a young 73. He's energetic. I've said it. If you hired Pete, again, you could do worse. I wouldn't completely hate it, but I think once Mike McCarthy entered the fray for me, he's just a better offensive version of Pete Carroll, and he's 11, 12 years younger. That's kind of how I view it. Both have similar resumes. Both have won a Super Bowl. Both have been head coaches for different franchises. The difference here is Mike has actually been more successful for 2, whereas Pete was really only successful in Seattle. Now, obviously, he was a very successful college coach at USC, but I just think McCarthy entering the fray kind of knocked down Carroll a little bit, especially considering the age there. Probably not a long-term answer. Ron Rivera, out of McCarthy, Carroll, and Rivera, guys who are retreads, who are a little bit older, who have at least been to a Super Bowl. I think he is a distant 3 of 3. Things did not go that well in Washington. Again, could you do worse? Absolutely. Like, we're going to get to a tier here of guys who I think would all be in a lower tier for me than Ron Rivera. But if you hire Ron Rivera, you might as well just hire Pete Carroll, right? And if you hire Pete Carroll, the difference with McCarthy is he might not just be sitting for you. Other teams might be interested, like the Saints. Sure, could the Raiders hire Pete Carroll, but like I'm not worried about losing Pete Carroll. There's a scenario where you could be concerned that you lose Mike McCarthy to New Orleans, so keep that in mind. And then my last tier, no effing thanks. No offense to these guys. Matt Campbell, he's a fine college coach. If you're going to go the college route, just take the Marcus Freeman swing. That's kind of how I look at that. Adam Stenavich, a non-play calling OC for the Packers, feels a little Luke Getzy-ish to me. And for your head coach, I'm out on that. Arthur Smith, technically been a head coach before, did some good things in Tennessee, was not that impressed in Pittsburgh this year. I get, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields aren't the best options out there. Their offensive line isn't great, but I thought the offense was really stale. You need a lot of things going for you for his offense to be good, and I just don't. I think there's far better options than Arthur Smith. David Shaw, like high character guy, was a hot name 10 years ago. If he was on your staff in some regard, I'd be fine with it, but a head coach, not in the year of 2025. Drew Petzing, maybe you could put him in tier 4, talented but not ready yet, but he's below all the guys we talked about in that tier, in my opinion. So you could also call this the I will crash out if you end up with one of these coaches when it comes to this coaching search. So there you have it. This is not the right question I meant to put up. Here we go. Predict who will be the next Bears head coach. Not who you want, who you think it's going to be. Let us know in the comment section down below. And don't forget to get started with our friends over at Game Time. Promo code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase only. Terms do apply. We are going to continue to crank out content for you guys, so be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Watch party tonight. Lions, Commanders. Should be a lot of fun. My name is Harrison Graham. Subscribe, bear down, and we will see you then.